Hey everyone, my name is Chris Lambert. On this channel, we talk Kanye West, and I wanted to go over this Big Sean Drink Champs interview, which was a direct response to when Ye went on Drink Champs, as Ye did an extended assassination of Big Sean in that interview that had just people being like, whoa, I did not realize Ye had that kind of energy for Big Sean. And in the aftermath of that, the guys from Drink Champs were just like, yo, Sean, do you want to come on? I feel like you have some things to say. So the interview's 3 hours and 21 minutes. You know how Drink Champs is. It's these very long, long things, which is great because you get so much information, but it's a long watch. So Joe Price here has summarized 8 things we learned. And there were different like headlines floating around in the aftermath of this interview coming out, but this was the best article I found that was kind of gathering and collecting all of those details, putting them into one easily digestible read. So I figured we'd go over that today, even though it's a little bit of like a week old information almost at this point. We were just recently hired to do a commission project, so I've kind of been in the woods on that, but wanted to make sure we got this like out there, right? So you could just kind of have this information and it's archived. So we're going to go through this article, and you can see that Joe kind of grounds it in some of the things that Ye said. One of the big ones was Ye saying both John Legend and Big Sean, when I ran for office, got used quick by the Democrats to come at they boy that actually changed their life, and that's some sellout shit, said Ye during the episode. And I don't rock with neither of them, and I need my apologies, which was just like, whoa. And Ye even said that the worst mistake he ever made in his career was signing Big Sean, which was just like, yo, like Sean's like not game changing, but he's been like great. And especially when you look at the Good Music roster and how many people have come and gone, how many people have actually put out albums or not put out albums on Good Music, like Sean has been like pretty solid for them. But Ye definitely felt slighted during all the presidential stuff. But that was one of the things people in the aftermath of this were like, what did Sean say? Like, we're trying to find where Sean got used by the Democrats, right? But nobody could really find an interview where he came at Ye. He did do like an infomercial for Biden or something like that, right? The closest thing was that in Detroit 2, there were some lyrics about 2020 vision being blurry, and Ye having his like 2020 vision campaign slogan. It seemed like a shot, but didn't seem like enough of a shot to warrant this. So you got to wonder like what it was that caused Kanye to say this, or if it was a conflation of things or what. So getting into some of these details, you have some things that are just like, okay, you know, more for the Sean fan, right? Like Sean quit Adderall when he started making Detroit 2. Okay. He was in a crazy car wreck during high school. Okay. And then here, this is the first one that kind of concerns, you know, Ye fans. Kanye told Sean to fire a friend after they leaked a photo of the Dark Twisted Fantasy studio session. I actually asked on Twitter if people remembered this photo or had this photo, and maybe I don't think I asked in the best way, but did not get a good answer. And if you try like Googling leaked My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy photos, you don't really get anything all that compelling. Definitely nothing that's like on the level of what this is saying. So we see here that Nori asked Big Sean if he got a photographer fired because they took photos of Beyonce, Jay-Z, and Kanye West in the studio working on what would become Fantasy. No, what the fuck, he replied, and then he proceeded to explain what really went down. What really went down. Typo alert. I don't want to tell this story. I know it's a funny story, but he's a real person, man, he said, noting that the friend was a right-hand man to him at the time. I'm out there playing my role, but I got my mans with me. I'm in the studio with Ye and Hove. He ends up taking a picture of all of us in the studio, didn't tell me, and then he tweeted it. They thought it was me, which is just like, oh no, don't think it's me. That's kind of, that's one of those things that especially like early in your career, you get thrown out of that studio. You don't want Ye, Jay, or Beyonce working with you. No, that's not the reputation you want. The legendary MBDTF studio sessions were shrouded in secrecy, and after the photo circulated online, Ye approached Sean about the leak. I explained to him who it was, and he was like, you got to fire him. He said, he was like, we all done this. We've hired the people that we love, but people was mad at you. He was talking about me. thinking that you was being thirsty and it was your man's. So I told him I'm in a position where it's like, shit, Ye and Ho saying you got to go. I'm sorry, bro. We got to figure out something else, which makes sense. Like, you know, we can work together on the next one. I'll bring you around for everything else. It's just you can't be in the studio with me, Ye, and Hove anymore because you transgressed, right? Thankfully, it all worked out for his friend, Sean added, even transforming his life. Sean revealed the friend ended up being a teacher, ended up impacting a lot of people's lives and doing amazing, wonderful things. So he went from photographer to teacher. Jeez. Like, that's quite the transformation. And then here, you know, some of the photos from the studio sessions, right? It's like Ye in front of the rule board, which is pretty funny. And one says like no photos. Like it was clearly stated, like no photos, no tweeting. That was on there. Longtime lurker. Yeah. So just all these things. Ye in the studio with Charlie Wilson making a new flashing lights, that Rosewood era where they're all wearing the suits, right? So those are all the photos that we kind of get. But Big Sean thinks being a rapper is dangerous in America. Asked to pick between Ye or Pharrell's production, he chose Pharrell. So during a portion of the episode in which he got tasked with picking between artists, Sean was immediately asked Drake or Lil Wayne. While that might be a tough question to answer for some, Sean immediately replied with Wayne because there wouldn't be a Drake without Wayne. It's fair. Well, yes and no. It was Jay Prince that was like, hey, we need to do something with Drake, let's introduce him to Wayne, and then Wayne got Drake going. But you imagine that Jay Prince would have just passed him off to someone else to try to get going. But Wayne was instrumental, right? Like in how everything played out. Yes, there's no Drake without Wayne. But the most interesting matchup came when Nori asked to pick between Pharrell or Kanye West, only on the basis of their production talents. I'm going to go with Pharrell for producers, he said after a long pause. I'll tell you why. The fact that Pharrell has been poppin' has had impact on 3 different decades as a producer. To me, that's some of the most impressive stuff anyone could do, which I kind of get, but like, Ye hasn't been producing for people in the same way that he was in the 2000s, right? Like he was producing full albums for people like pretty consistently, or doing like hit singles for people pretty consistently. And he stopped doing that really. And I guess like, what's the 3rd decade? I guess Pharrell was active in the 90s. I don't know much about like Neptune's history, but that makes sense. So you kind of have like Pharrell a little earlier than Ye, but I mean, Ye's production has been so instrumental to the sound of like pop music and hip hop and has continued, right? Like his early stuff, TCD, LR, Graduation had a huge impact. Then 808s and Heartbreak, like has still like, it's still defining the sound of pop music and hip hop to this day. But then Yeezus and Life of Pablo, I feel like we're both ahead of the curve and kind of shifting things. It just feels like there's more of a wake in the aftermath of what Ye does than what Pharrell does, even though Pharrell's like consistently putting out like smash pop hits. But I do recognize my bias in this situation. Sean disputed Ye's comments about him and explained how it made him feel. So this is kind of the meat of the discussion. At first, I thought it was hilarious. I thought that shit was funny, Big Sean said of Kanye West's remarks about him on Drink Champs. Then I took it personal. I took it personal because I'm the only artist who's put out 5 albums under Good Music. And this is where he starts to get into like his value as an artist to good music, right? Like 5 albums, the only one. Even like Pusha, who's been there for so long, has only put out, what, like 2 or 3, right? And like Cudi left. Teyana got 2 albums or like 1.5 albums kind of thing. I don't know what it is with the artists that get signed to Good Music. Like what hurdles are there to where there's like barely any movement forward on albums? Like you just don't see the amount of content that you would expect. And it feels like when artists do sign to Good Music, they almost struggle to release anything, which I don't think is on the artist, right? But I wonder what's going on. Like, is it something where things have to go to Ye and he's just slow at looking at them? Is it just something where the artists aren't getting the support they want? I don't know. I've just always found like the story of Good Music, like, kind of fascinating because it hasn't felt like the success that it should be. Though I guess a lot of artist labels that are like sub labels under a larger label, right? Like Good Music being under Def Jam, aren't typically like huge deals, but I don't know. I'm just curious. It feels like there's like a bigger story into the inner workings of good music that none of us are really privy to yet. But I feel like one day there's going to be this like big thing about this is how things were operating. This is why artists weren't necessarily putting out the amount of content that you would expect, et cetera, et cetera. We'll see. But I'm the only one who put out back-to-back-to-back number ones, platinum albums, double platinum albums, and by the way, being signed to Kanye is a golden opportunity. He changed my life, and I love him for that. But every time Kanye has called on me, every single time, no matter what I was doing, within one day's notice, I'm wherever he's at, bro. Whether it's to contribute to him in the studio, whether it's to contribute a line, write a verse for him, I've traveled around the world for this man every time he's called. And I've done this and not asked for publishing a lot of the times. Why? Because he gave me a golden opportunity of signing to good music. So yeah, like Ye quite often credits people on things. Like if you just throw out a word, you get a writing credit. If you're just in the room kind of vibing, like you might get a writing credit. Like people have been credited with things for doing very, very little, and they get paid for that. Like if you're in the credits, you're getting paid. So Sean's just saying there are times where he's contributed and didn't specifically ask for publishing just because, you know, he's already thankful and grateful for what Ye has done for him. Furthering his history of support for Yeezy, Sean recalled in 2015 when I won a VMA with Ye and John Legend, I was the first person to tweet Kanye for president. So it was at the 2015 VMAs where Ye, receiving the Video Vanguard Award, first announced that he was going to run for president in 2020. So that's what Sean's saying. Like he was there, he heard Ye say that, and was just like, yo, Kanye for president. When I heard what he was talking about, it didn't make sense, bro. And this is getting back to Drink Champs, right? Getting used by the Democrats, that thing. Kanye has now insisted Sean didn't show him any support for his goal of becoming president, claiming he instead supported the Democrats. Sean also once again said he's owed a significant amount of money by Good Music. I had to spend my own money auditing my label because millions of dollars are missing. I think Sean gets back into this. Like there's another point. So we'll get to that. That's not the end of that dialogue. And if it doesn't come back up, I'll fill you in on the details. But I had to spend my own money auditing my label because millions of dollars are missing. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my label, thinking Universal owed me this money, and the money had been paid to Good Music, he explained. So let me ask you before we finish, if somebody owed you $500,000, how would you feel? He gradually increased the amount of money up to $6 million. What if they owed you that, bro? And you showed up for them and you did all these things, right? And they up billions. And then the guy who comes at them, who talks the most shit, he bigging up in the interview and shit. I'm talking about Drake, who he, you know, loves. And my thing is, bro, when you want to talk about loyal to a fault, yeah, I've been loyal because I feel like I'm the only one who stayed that long for Good Music. So yeah, it was personal. It affected me personally, bro. Okay, so unpacking that, it's this thing where apparently he thought that Universal, the parent company, was the one that owed him money, right? Even though his publishing is with Good Music, he signed to Good Music, like Universal owns Good Music. It's an imprint of Good Music is an imprint of Universal. So it's like, oh, so Universal must owe me the money. But it turns out that that money was paid from Universal down to Good Music, and that Good Music should have distributed it. Now, that's not necessarily saying that Ye was the one that's in charge of the books and should or shouldn't pay Big Sean, but it is his label, right? So at the end of the day, the buck stops with Ye. Responsibility runs up the flagpole. But apparently, like, that's the situation with the $6 million, which was a story a few months ago, and now it's kind of come back up. And it's just like, apparently this money that's owed to him just never made its way to him. And is that malicious? Is that just showing like the inner workings of Good Music are kind of like unstable right now? Big Sean said that he doesn't even know if the money situation is on Ye's radar like that. So it might not be a situation that Ye is even aware of. He admitted that the figure of $6 million is probably ain't nothing for Kanye, but life-changing for himself. Yeah, most people. $6 million is pretty life-changing, you know? God, I cannot get the brightness looking good. But the Dark Side of Paradise hitmaker, what a phrase, you know? The Jesus is King singer maintained he's not tanking on his deal, but said, what I'm saying is I put at least 30 million in this man's pocket or more. I never know what to do with like YouTube punishes you for having swear words or using swear words. So it's like the more you say, the least likely they'll put you in the algorithm, right? So your video might still be like monetized, but it's not going to get shown to as many people. But then it just feels weird replacing every curse word, because it's like, am I 11? Am I a 10-year-old? Like, I should be allowed to say shitting, but then at the same time, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to like do all this work and then have the video not go anywhere. But what I'm saying is I put at least 30 million in this man's pocket or more, and he owes me money, and he's got billions, him or his company. So yeah. Kanye previously expressed his desire to get all good music signees their masters back. Sean said that hasn't happened, although it would benefit him a lot if it could. And if I was up billions, and if I was a man of my word and not just saying something to look good in that moment, I would pay my artists their masters, or at least what they're worth, if he's not in the position to do that. But that's just me. And that's kind of been a little bit of the discussion around that point. People have brought up in the year since Kanye talked about like he wanted to give masters back to all the good music artists, that, okay, maybe it's not Kanye's say, right? It's a Universal issue. If Universal's not giving up the masters, how could Ye give up the masters, right? It might be out of his hands. And I've been somebody that's kind of like, yeah, you know, what more could he do? But Sean is saying like, you know, pay the artist what they worth, or like send them some money, right? Give them some value. Even if you can't give them the masters, like give them something to stay true to your word at this point, which I can see that argument as well. I can see people going back and forth, like short-term, long-term. If it takes like 3 years to get them their masters, is that better than getting like an early payouts, right? You know, I could give you 1.5 million right now, or in 3 years, you might be able to fully own your masters. Which one do you want? Ye hit Big Sean up after saying signing him was the worst thing ever done. Worst thing I've ever done. So the day after Ye's Drink Champs episode came out, Sean said West hit him up over text to meet with Sean and his mother, Sean's mother, to begin healing on both sides. But Sean was angry at the time. I took it too personally because it's like, you publicly humiliated me when I've been down for you. Now, peep this out. While he was running for president, yeah, this is when he gets into it. Okay. I didn't have his contact. So Kanye changes his phone number after every project. So, or maybe even like every 6 months kind of thing. But he's often getting new phones, getting new phone numbers, and he reaches back out to people. Like, he shifts contacts, but he doesn't like let everybody know his new phone number. So there could be a period in time where somebody that's like close to Ye just doesn't have his phone number because Ye hasn't reached out to them yet. But I didn't have his contact. I purposefully didn't endorse anyone publicly, politically, because my mans was running. I didn't even have his contact at that time. I'm the #1 earning artist on good music, and I didn't come out and support no Democratic Party because my mans was running, and he wasn't even on the ballot in 30-something states. You see what I'm saying? So when he said all that, it just had no... That's why it was funny, because it was just not true. Like, I didn't come out and support no Democratic Party, bro. What the... right? Maybe John Legend did. I don't know. I didn't. So yeah, that's Sean's position on that, and that's fair. Like, you know, what made Ye lump Sean in that situation with John Legend, and what did John Legend do, right? Like, as far as I know, John Legend's been kind of like respectfully quiet on Ye, just saying like, you know, we have our differences of opinion kind of thing, but not saying like, I was friends with Ye, but no longer kind of thing. There was drama regarding Yeezy's verse on Sean's Blessings. So Kanye demanded to be on Blessings, Big Sean's 2015 collaboration with Drake, a day before the album needed to be handed in, which, like, for anybody that knows like the history of Kanye and albums, he's constantly doing this. Like, he's asking people to send in verses the night before albums are due, and he's recording things the day before albums are due. So that's kind of constantly been how he's operated, but that might not be how everyone operates, right? And Sean helped Ye write his verse after protesting briefly, but the verse somehow didn't initially make the cut due to some confusion between the people mastering the album. So you had Ye's verse come in, and it was supposed to be Sean, Drake, Ye on the song. But then, you know, maybe it was confusion, or maybe it was genuine confusion since it was so last minute, but that version of the song did not make the album. So it's just Drake and Sean Both thought the song was already done and didn't need Ye's verse. Sean and Drake didn't express anything about not wanting West on the song, but added that he got the vibes. Oh, Sean said Drake didn't express anything about not wanting West on the song, but added that he got the vibes. So it's like, I can imagine how the conversation goes, right? Like, hey, man, I think Kanye's going to be on the song. He really wants to be on the song. And Drake's just like, okay, like, do you want him on the song? And Sean's just like, well, it is what it is. Like, he's my big bro. Like, if he wants on the song, and Drake's just like, okay, if you're fine with him on the song, like those kind of vibes, right? Rather than just like, oh, sweet, we're going to have me, Ye, and you on the song. Like, sick. Like, let's do it. No, it didn't seem like he was that excited. But when it fell through, Sean agreed on doing the version with Kanye for the video and radio. So it's just like, hey, this didn't make the album, but let's do a remix together. Like, and we'll make you part of the official video. This song is going to be huge. You'll be in the video. It's going to be great. And then next thing I know, we're shooting the video and he's spazzing on me, Sean said. Like, you did this because, like, I'm loyal to Drake over him or something. So it seems like just when they went to shoot the video, Ye was feeling some kind of way about being left off of the album version and feeling like it was some kind of plot against him. Like, oh, you didn't want me getting in there. Like, it was a Drake power struggle. So it just seems like the song Blessings was a bit of a battlefield in this Cold War that Drake and Kanye have had for, some years now. That's a 2015 song, right? We know that, like, on The Life of Pablo, there were a few, like, potential Drake subliminals and something like Facts, right? And that there was already some tension about Ye feeling a certain way about Drake and Drake's success. And that was at the time when Drake's star really, like, took off. Like, Drake was already huge between, like, 2010 and 2013, becoming this bigger and bigger artist. But that period of, like, 2014 to 2017, Drake was just, like, a whole other level of popularity. So I can imagine from what Kanye said in his interview with Charlemagne, and then some of the recent stuff that we've, like, seen him say about Drake, just in terms of feeling, like, competitive and feeling like there was a challenge from Drake, and that there's this dynamic between them of he really likes Drake as a person, but really, like, wants to compete with Drake and feels this kind of need to compete with Drake. So it just seems like Sean was kind of caught up in the midst of all of that. But that's it. That's all that was said. And you can see why there's some, like, bigger deal things in there in terms of, like, oh, Ye was, like, upset about this Drake thing, or he had Big Sean fire someone, or Big Sean's owed money, Ye hasn't paid masters. So there is some criticisms that have come out in this interview, some, like, negative looks, but at the same time, it still sounded from people that watched the interview like Sean was very much still respectful of Kanye, right? And still very much in the mindset of, this guy changed my life and I owe, like, the life that I've lived and the career that I've had to this man. So he said some stuff, but I imagine they'll get over it. Like, I imagine they'll, like, talk. We'll see what happens. Maybe Sean's out of his contract this time next year. Maybe they don't make up, but I imagine with the way that Ye makes up with everybody that we'll see some kind of Sean and Kanye reunion very soon. But that does it for this video. If you are enjoying the content, then the best way to support us is to like, comment, subscribe, as any of those things tell YouTube this is a channel people enjoy, and they show it to others, which goes a long way in helping us. So until next time, stay wavy and keep it loopy. Cheers.